Everybody wants to be, but nobody wants to do. Girl, it's time to be real, raw, and relentless. Everybody wants to be, but nobody wants to do. You know it's time.
Recrown you.
What's up, guys? It's your girl, Truly Inspired Martin, and welcome to another episode of Recrown You, the podcast, baby. I am so excited about this whole segment. Y'all have no idea. Y'all already know I get all excited about mental health because it's a big, big deal, and it's a conversation that we don't want to have. But guess what? We are bringing the men to the forefront this week, ladies. And yes, this is for you to get a better understanding of them. But just in case this is your first time tuning in, Recrown You is for the women who are ready to be real, raw, and relentless in their pursuit to unleash their inner badass. So what does that mean for you? That means that you're willing to take a journey that you don't even know that you're going to take. You're saying that you're going to peel back the layers of yourself and make shit happen for you by any means necessary. It means that there's some things that you haven't dealt with, but you're saying, you know what, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to jump anyway. This is for the woman that is ready to really take life by the horns and ride that thing out, baby. This is for you. And I know what it feels like and I know what it looks like. So I'm bringing to you the things that I know we need, not just from my perspective, but from y'all. So let me tell you about this segment that I got going on here, ladies. This is all about the men. See, men and mental health is a real big deal. And one of the reasons it's a big deal for me is because at the end of the day, we got boyfriends, we got fathers, we got grandfathers, uncles, cousins, boyfriends, fiancés. Listen, men are a very important part of our lives, regardless if you want to say it, feel it, or not, okay? They are the pillars of our lives. And if we can't understand what they endure and the things that they go through in their lives, how do we expect to really have meaningful, grounded, communicative relationships with men? So I'm bringing that to the forefront with this segment called They Need Us Too, Men and Mental Health. It's all about highlighting men and their struggles with mental health in different areas of their lives to help women understand men just a little bit better. But y'all already know how I start off every episode, right? So we got to get these statistics popping. So here, let's go. One thing that I was reading, and I was just reading over all these different statistics about men and mental health, and I was like, geez, man, some of these statistics are blowing my mind. Here's one for you. Men make up over 75% of suicide victims in the United States, with one man killing himself every 20 minutes. You heard me right. Every 20 minutes. So that means by the time you finish listening to this episode, a man could have or would have killed himself by means of suicide. And I'm telling you that this is a real big factor. This is a real big deal because I think one of the reasons why there's so many stigmas with mental health is because we're embarrassed. We don't want to talk about it and we're not willing to open up the conversations. And a lot of these suicide attempts and suicides, period, happen in a lot of small towns and rural areas, right? Like, we're not about to talk about that stuff. Like, we're keeping it on the hush. We're keeping it in the corner. This is not something we talk about, right? But no, that changes now. And I think it's very important for me to bring this to the forefront because that's just what it is, all right? So, I got a quote for you. And I want you to let this lead you into where we are going. You ready for this? Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." Woo! Let that seep into your spirit, baby. But I'm not going to hold y'all up any further because I'm about to bring somebody that is absolutely amazing. Known him for several years, and this dude is definitely, you would think he had it all together. all together. Everybody love old Rico Suave Kelsey, right? But he has a story just like many other men. And he's using his story to set other people free. And that's what I'm here for. Okay, so he is the CEO of Maynor Made LLC. He's an author, hospitality consultant, and a speaker. Today's episode is titled, I Don't Love You Anymore. Things I Said to Myself. Kelsey, you in here?
Yeah, I'm in here, man. How you doing?
What's good? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yo, I should have added to that. I should have added model to that.
Oh yeah, you definitely are because you everybody's stock.
Yo, listen. So I was sitting here listening to you talk, and I got an email, and it just popped up on my computer, and I'm like, "What is this?" And it's a little girl holding a newspaper in D.C. And I'm like, why did somebody email this to me? And now click the image. It's a little girl holding this newspaper, and my face is on a newspaper. And I'm like, what? What is this?
You are.
I'm not even in DC. That's so funny.
My brother, you are everywhere. Like literally everything. I go on websites and I'm like, what is that, Kelsey?
my mother said, at least it's not. At least it's all like positive. They're using you in like positive ways. Like this one here is for George Mason University's business school. It says designed for you, designed for success. And it's a picture of me next to their MBA programs and master programs. So I honestly don't mind.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you need to be getting them royalties, my brother.
Just as long as I'm associated with success for other people, I'm the image of black male success, and I'll take that.
Hey, I'm here for it. Well, let's jump into it. So, who is Kelsey? Let the people know about you, my man.
Man, I'm a very complex person, but I'm very simple. I enjoy people. I enjoy love. Right now, I'm in this hospitality space. I've been there for 10 plus years. Here in Atlanta, we have a restaurant called the Atlanta Breakfast Club. Actually, been voted like best breakfast in Atlanta and best breakfast in Georgia for the last 2 years. So we're super excited about those accolades. Outside of working in restaurants, I do hospitality consultant for other businesses. Recently, I was called to do some like a hospitality flow for a church, which is really interesting. I never thought about it like that. Right. And I never thought about hospitality in that kind of setting, but it was pretty interesting to sit down and kind of talk that through, like the experience you have once you pull into the parking lot of a church all the way to after the service, walking out. What does that feel like? And is it like having a thought process and a plan for somebody entering the house of God? It was pretty dope. Like I said, an author, I wrote a book called Help, I'm Talking to Myself. It's literally 50 speeches I wrote to myself to keep from going crazy. Yeah, I do a whole lot of stuff. Those are my main things right there. Everything else is whatever I can put my hands on that feels good. I'm trying to do. If it's something I'm interested in, I'll try it. I think Gary Vee said something really interesting in a video the other day. He was like, "There's the 80% of what you do, and then 20% you try other things, but you go 150% on the 80% that you do that you're doing. Like go hard on that, and then still try some other things." Because if that becomes a trend, you've already dabbled in it. So once it becomes something important, you've already it's like that's how you keep in business wise, how you keep on top. It's like you don't get content with what you have. You're like, all right, what else is coming up? What's going on? What other trends or new things are coming up, new ideas? How do you stay fresh and creative without being on the back end trying to catch up? Like a business, like right now, trying to get on Instagram. Like you're almost too late.
I like that. Might have to steal that real quick. Mm-hmm. That was good. So
I've never quoted Gary Vee in my life until today. That was interesting.
Definitely just quoted Gary Vee. I'm here.
Never before.
That man be dropping bombs, man.
He does. F-bombs.
Yeah, a whole lot of those. That's that guy. Hey, I need him on show. I'm all here for the real and the raw. So, what were some of your struggles with mental health? Because I see that we titled this "I Don't Love You Anymore," right? So let's get into that.
No, what's funny? I titled that because I feel it'd be eye catching, but it wasn't necessarily something I've said to myself. I never looked at myself in the mirror and said, "I don't love you anymore." But I probably have, just not verbally. Like there's certain things that you start to do that kind of don't reflect love.
Mm-hmm.
It reflects hate. Ideas that you think negatively about yourself aren't love. So essentially you are telling yourself, I don't love this part. I love myself. I just don't love these parts about me, which means you don't love you wholly. And it's very difficult for other people to love you wholly if you don't love you wholly. So I figured it'd be a topic that I know people can get behind once you broke it down. Like me personally, I tend to pick at my face, my hair, the hair bumps, my beard growing in or not growing in, and those things. Like I'm always looking at those bald spots or the pimple spots, whatever it is. It's just you start to nitpick at yourself, or maybe you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, and there's things that you want to achieve, but you constantly tell yourself, I can't do stuff like that. Like you watch Gary V videos or Eric Thomas videos or David Shan's videos or Inky Johnson videos. I keep going. You can watch Les Brown videos and be like, I could never stand on stage and talk to that many people. I could never. And what you're doing is you're looking at yourself and telling yourself, I, number one, don't believe in you. I don't trust you. And honestly, whatever I'm looking at right now, I don't love it. It's like looking at a car, like, it's a cool car, sure it's safe, but I don't love it. I don't love it.
And that's
how
comparison devil too. Like it's
absolutely.
on social media and be like, damn.
Oh, yeah, I'm just talking about the front. Don't turn sideways and look at your stomach and be like, you see that gut? I don't love it, but I also don't love the gym. I know that booty. I don't love it. I don't love it. I don't like it. I don't like it. And you start to just look at yourself in a negative manner. And so the words and even the thoughts you have about yourself don't reflect love. And it's so crazy.
And you know what? That's funny too, because I think like if you look at the overall picture, there's a lot of people that probably don't even think that men go through those type of things, right? When you think of self-love and self-worth and self-doubt issues, like a lot of times people frame that for women. Like that's something women go through, but that's stuff that men go through too, right?
Yes, and oddly enough, when we think about self-love, we always go to this area of vanity. And what happens with men is men are always perceived to be confident, and they're not. Most of the time, the outward over exertion of masculinity is an insecurity about themselves. We know that, like when a guy goes and buys a fast, sporty car, you're like, oh, he has small penis. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it may be true, it may not be true, but we've associated these outward displays of aggression or extreme masculinity as a overcompensation for something lacking in that person. And honestly, it's real. I was on a podcast not too long ago, and we got to talk, and I was like, all right, let me be frank, guys. If you meet a man, all he talks about is how much money he has or how good his sex is, he's probably insecure about the other things that he's lacking that most women want to get to know. Like, what kind of person are you? How's your family? Are you able to hold a decent conversation? No, all I know is what I'm confident in, which is my sex game or how much money I got in the bank or in my pocket. And so those are things that men lead with. If you pay attention to what we talk about, if it's only sports, it's only because I'm only confident in sports because I'm probably raised in a household that sports was the only thing that I could figure out to get me through whatever situation I was in. So I'm very confident in sports. I'm not confident in history. I'm not confident in current events. I'm not confident in news, politics. I'm not confident in money. I'm confident in sports. So y'all can watch football and basketball and maybe soccer, and I'm going to talk about sports all the time because that's all I'm confident in. Don't ask me about myself, about my feelings, how I felt about so-and-so at work. I'm not confident in feelings. I haven't learned that yet. So a lot of men, you'll see that they have an insecurity about their education level or their understanding of themselves or other people, and you'll realize that in their conversations.
Ooh, Kels, you talking good right now. You talking good because I'm seeping in all of this. Like I'm thinking back to even some of the dudes I dated in the past, right? And I'm like, shoot, yo, he used to really talk about how much money he got in the bank. Or just like all these things that was just like he was overcompensating all the time.
Absolutely.
And it makes sense because you're trying to make up for those insecurities and those things that they lack on the inside. Ooh, honey, have you ever dealt with like depression or anxiety or any?
You know what? I realized that growing up, I'm curious if like this whole mental health thing, is it new? Have people always been going through it? And I believe similarly to like sexuality and the LGBTQ, I think that LGBTQ continues to grow in letters and acronyms because it's becoming to be identified by something. That makes sense?
Yes.
Like before there were lesbians, there was just gays or just homosexuals. Then become homosexual. No, well, I'm not a homosexual. That means loving a man. So I'm a lesbian, means loving a woman. I'm defining it. So as we start to define what things are, like when you wake up and you're like, I'm having a bad hair day. You know, maybe my hair's not laying down. Maybe my waves ain't popping. I took my do-rag off and they weren't wavy. It was just like squished hair. Like when I'm looking at myself, you begin to define that, because having a bad hair day really means I'm looking in the mirror and I'm not satisfied with how I look. You know what I mean? Because technically your hair isn't bad. Maybe just the style you're going for or the look you want to achieve, you can't achieve it. So thus it makes you feel less about yourself. So going back to depression, I wouldn't have called it depression when I was going through it. But now that I've kind of figured out a definition of that and anxiety, absolutely. Once you understood what the definition of anxiety was and the pretenses around it, I realized that I do certain things that resemble somebody with anxious tendencies. I went through a period maybe 6 years ago. Honestly, when we first met, it was funny. What it looked like on the outside was not what it felt like on the inside. You know, they say that phrase, I don't look like what I've been through. Yeah. Look, I mean, we met and we were traveling to speak to kids and, just give them motivation and inspiration and all kind of stuff. And we're giving. Yeah. And when I met Connie that first time we went on that trip, I was like, yeah, y'all thought I was kidding. I was like, yeah, all the clothes I got in this bag, not all I have, but the rest of it's in my trunk. In my car, in this truck I was driving, because that was where I was staying at, unless like a friend let me sleep on the couch, or I stayed at a friend of the family's house, or I was here and there and everywhere. I had nowhere to live. It wasn't until maybe, I think I've been in my house almost 4 years, and we've known each other for 6. For those 2 years, I wasn't living anywhere. So I was only homeless for like 6 months. But when like I said, it was this period of time where all my clothes in my trunk. I was from couch to couch. I was, just wherever I could get it. I've slept in my car several nights. I used to work for FedEx office. I ran 2 stores. I was an store office manager, working in 2 stores. Speaking. I'll be sitting at work. I'll go into the bathroom with a bag of clothes. I would like change clothes in the bathroom and leave to go speak at a high school or something. I would wake up early out of my car and go to the job early before anybody got there, so I can like wash up in the bathroom and put my suit on, and and nobody knew anything. And I'm sitting there just smiling, going about life. But honestly, it was very tumultuous. My mother said, and your body would tell you. My mother said that I had a stressful smell about me. And it's funny because Connie did something one day. She bought me some soap. Because she said I stank. She said whatever soap you're using, that's that pretty with that Dove for men. So you need that strong Irish Springs man soap. And I didn't know what was going on, but my body was stressed out and it was tense. Maybe I was putting on a good front, but my body was telling everybody else it's like something different. Not that I was musty. It just I had a stressful smell to me. Yeah, I couldn't necessarily recognize. So honestly, I didn't know I was depressed or having these anxiety issues at the time.
Yeah, but all of that you endured, shit, like that plays a big part in all of that. Like, and we don't recognize the signs of it because a lot of times we don't know the name of it because it's not something that we talk about, nor do we want to talk about. Oh my God, that story right there. Like, I knew a little bit of that, but I didn't know you was going through it like that, bro. Like, that's.
And it's funny because it wasn't that I didn't have money. I didn't have a lot of money. I was getting, my salary wasn't bad. Right. It just wasn't good enough to buy a house at the time. I was saving up to buy a house, but it definitely, I wasn't in a position to rent anything. It's funny. Like, it's like there's so many right now. If you go like in the city of Atlanta, there's the working homeless, and that population is a population that doesn't really get any kind of news feedback about it. Like people who have jobs who still like go to shelters. There's people who live in the shelter as a family right now, and both of their parents have jobs. It's just not enough.
Yeah.
And I was making enough. I just wasn't enough to put a down payment, like first and last month's rent and utilities. No, I didn't have that much money at the time. So yeah, it was not that hard spot.
When I go out there to like go talk to the homeless people, and sometimes I'll just go there. I just want to hear your story. I want to know
Yeah.
what got you here. And I remember I met a doctor. Okay, a doctor out there still working but homeless. So these stories
Mhm.
are true. They're real. Like, and just to see how you have come through all of that, that's deep. That's good. Like, you are definitely a testimony to a lot of other people. Like, you've overcome a lot. I don't know if you really recognize the overall picture of you and your growth and your push through and your resilience. That junk is
Mhm.
sick. That's what's up, right?
And what I did, and how I got through all this was with the book and writing the book. Because what I started doing was writing. Um, and I think one thing that a lot of people do that I don't do is when I get down. I know that when I get down, when I get depressed, or I got anxious, it wasn't like I secluded myself. I immersed myself with people. You know what I mean? Like in that whole thing, the whole process of like I said, living in my car and working a job. I mean, I'm working a lot. I'm running 2 stores, driving from Camp Creek to one store to Decatur for the other store. Not know I'm sleeping in the parking lot. I mean, every time I step in the parking lot at the U Bar,
Oh,
because my
wow.
store was right next to the U Bar. I mean, I remember waking up in the middle of the night and people are like leaving the club, leaving the party and stuff. And I'm in my car with a hoodie on, lead back, just trying to get some sleep before I got to go to work in the morning. Like, wild stuff. But what I said was I didn't seclude myself. So in those same periods, those time periods, I'm with y'all speaking at these high schools. I'm at David's house. I'm at Connie's house. I'm with Ryan and Craig, and we're putting together a plan for Ibby. Or I'm immersed with these creative ideas and these concepts and these people who are all trying to better themselves, and it kept me in a positive space. Because a lot of times, what you realize, you talk to that doctor in the homeless shelter, and he'd be like, "What happened?" Well, I went through this thing, and I ended up going through it by myself. Sure, I didn't tell anybody this was going on, but I just continued my life, and I continued to be around people who continue to just put out positivity. I think in my book, I wrote in the foreword, like a lot of people who encouraged me and motivated me didn't even know they did so. Like people didn't know my situation, but they were just genuinely kind people who were just loving and giving and caring and didn't know what they were giving.
Mm. So would you say one of your coping mechanisms was writing the book? Like, is that where you poured your heart out?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't even that. It was the book. Literally, is just words I was telling myself. Like, got it right here. Matter of fact, like stand up for yourself is a chapter in my book, and that whatever I was going through the time, it says you have to speak up. There's little time for hesitation, for silence, a little time for someone to stand in your place. Why are you hesitating? Often we lack confidence in our decisions, feel as though we need time to digest it, time to examine, time to figure out where our minds and our hearts lie on the situation. And you're stalling because you aren't prepared, stalling because you aren't sure you know in your mind, you're stalling because you don't know in your heart enough. You're just stalling. And it was, stop stalling was what I kept writing, and that's how I felt because there's times where I was like, you know what, I have an opportunity to fix this. But then you start second guessing yourself. You look in the mirror and say, "Hey, I'm going to go to work today. I'm going to ask to speak to my manager and see about getting a yearly review to examine my work coming up and see if I can get a raise." And then you're like, maybe today's not a good time. Maybe and you hesitate and you stall. And there's times when they say, "No, what, go out there." You saw that Instagram post of somebody saying, "Hey, we're looking for speakers for XYZ." And you're like, "Oh well." Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I need to speak just at one more place before I message that person. Like, you're just scared because you don't feel prepared. You're scared. You're scared. You're scared. You're nervous. You're nervous. You're hesitating. What do you say to somebody who's stalling and hesitating and they're scared to stand up for themselves and say, "Know what? I am a good speaker. Know what? I do have something to say. Know what? I think I am prepared for this."
Oh, sounds like a good bunch of kicks in your own back. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely.
that was like almost like your own affirmations, but in a form of a book in paragraphs and things that really just
Mm-hmm.
took you about your mess, right?
Yeah.
Man. So
I mean, I think I'm not gonna say my book is. I think my book is the application of all the motivation and encouragement from other people because they say it's one thing to say, oh, yeah. Oh, that was so inspiring. Oh, I felt that. You can go home and you go right back to the mirror, start telling yourself the same bullcrap you were saying the first time. Like, nothing changed. But this book was actually me taking all that influence and experience and all that motivation and inspiration and encouragement I received and putting into words that I'm saying to myself. Because it doesn't make sense for you watch the Les Brown video on YouTube. He said, you can be anything you want to be. You know, if I can go from Mammy's boy to standing in front of thousands and thousands of people, you can do it too. But you say that, yeah, I can do it. Then you go home and say, no, I can't. Well, I went home and said, yes, I can. And wrote a speech to myself using the same words I heard, but now it was my voice. It's different when your mama tells you to get up and go brush your teeth. But then it's a real thing when you get up and say, no, what? I need to go brush my teeth.
Yeah.
And then you do it. I said that and I did it. You know, I'm following instructions, but now I'm able to give myself instructions. I don't need my mom to come down and say, boy, get up, make your bread, brush your teeth, and go to school. No, I got up and I did it myself. And I can tell myself that. And I think that's the idea of growth. When I don't have to come downstairs and check on you anymore. I don't have to motivate you to get out of the bed. I don't have to motivate you to stand up. Like, essentially, the words need to come out of your mouth.
That's that check yourself before you wreck yourself moment.
Fool.
That's good right there. So here's a question for you. What is some advice that you have to other men that might have dealt with some things you dealt with in the past or dealing with some mental health things that they don't understand? Like, what is some advice for them?
Yo, stop being so quiet. Like, all men, they clam up when it comes down to like talking about things. They clam up, and it's this embarrassment. This maybe I'm the only person going through this, or they always want to make their situation seem so much worse than anybody else's. And honestly, we've gone through similar situations. It's the worst thing you can do is go through things alone, you know. And we're struggling with our financial, we're struggling with our credit, we're struggling with, you know, really liking a woman, and we don't know how to keep a woman, but we don't have those conversations about keeping women or how to keep women interested. You know, once the dick goes flaccid, out of luck, brother. No, you better have some other things about you. You got to develop your conversation skills, your spirituality skills, your you know, there's other things you got to develop just as much as your dick game and your money game. Those things are important, but there's other things. But we stay so quiet about our situations that you don't know. I didn't know you were struggling. And when we do struggle, it busts out and it's so aggressive in anger or frustration, they were like, "No, you tripping." And you know, and I think that was with me too. I didn't know it was a problem till it became a big problem. Like, men don't go to the doctor. I don't go to the doctor. And the only time we go to the doctor is when it's a big problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in those same ways that we're able to communicate more, but we're afraid of looking weak, afraid of not knowing. And those fears make us worse. That's all men, not just black men, but black men in particular. Absolutely. Yeah. Like we shut down.
Woo. You was out here giving up the jewels today, boy. I truly appreciate you for just coming and sharing you with the people. And I know somebody done heard something that probably hit them in the gut, and that's what we're here for, right? Like, it's something that you were supposed to hear, something that you were supposed to say to a man or a woman. And it's going to open up that conversation. And I love the fact that you said that, you know what, I might have been going through depression or anxiety and whatnot, but I didn't know it by name. I didn't know what it was called. Right. And there's somebody else out here that's feeling these emotions, feeling these ways, and going through things that they don't know what it's called either. But you just let them know that, you know what, you might be going through that too, and it's okay to not know. But it's not okay to not.
A lot of people say, "Nah, man, I'm not crazy, man. What you mean? I'm not depression. Come on, stop playing, man." Like, no, it's not a stigma. It's not like I'm saying something's wrong with you. I'm saying something ain't right. It's not that it's wrong, and it's fixable. It's like me walking by and say, "Yo, man, your shoe's untied." But oh shoot, my bad. The thing with my book is I wrote it in a way that if you don't know what to say to yourself when you're going through certain situations, or maybe that person is feeling stagnant, you don't have the words, yo, read my book and just read those words out loud, make them your words, and then start to adjust to what's going on with you. But here's an outline of when, all right, yo, when I'm not feeling something, like one chapter says, "Come on already." You're putting so much work, sweat equity, yet you don't see any fruits of your labor. And it goes on and come on, what do you listen? Nothing was built overnight, man. So keep working. You have to remove the immediate gratification from your list of expectations, because our influence may be written internally as an etching of hope, encouragement, motivation, strength, and a love right there in our heart of someone else. You don't know on the outward. Like these words right now may not outwardly change anybody, but internally, I'm stirred up something. You know what I mean? Just because I don't see the outward gratification, don't mean I didn't affect nobody.
Oh, listen, y'all, I know y'all hear my man Kelsey giving y'all this heat straight from the book itself. All right, this is some say it with your chest, say it with your chest moments, okay? And just because, listen, the book sounds super dope, and I cannot let you go without telling the people what you got coming up, where they can get the book. Spill it out. Let me know.
Everything.
Let me know.
Listen, so my name is Kelsey Maynor. If you didn't catch that from the beginning, that's KelseyMaynor. If you go to my website, kelseymaynor.com, you'll see the book on there. You see some of the other stuff I got going on. In 2 weeks, I'm a part of the Black Writers Weekend, and it's a weekend full of all Black writers in Atlanta, not just in Atlanta, but it's happening in Atlanta. I'm on a panel, a males panel, we're discussing mental health and kind of like writing a book and the whole process of that. And some people have their different platforms, but I think it's 4 or 5 men on a panel for that. I'm sure you'll see my face on somebody's flyer. Check with me on Instagram. Check my Instagram. What's up, Kels? That's WHATSKELS. Go there and just DM me if you see a flyer with my face on it. Be like, hey, Kels, are you going to be at this? Or are you modeling? Because I just got one from Baltimore just now while we're talking, and that's exactly what it asking. It says, "This, are you going to be in Baltimore or are you just a model for this photo?" I'm like, yes, that's a model photo, but hit them up. I would love to come. I'll gladly come drop some gems for you. Just you didn't know who to reach out to. But you can buy the book. The book's called Help, I'm Talking to Myself. The link is on my website. You go to Amazon. It's Help, I'm Talking to Myself on Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
If you come to the Atlanta Breakfast Club, there's a display right on the piano with my books on it. You can get one right there and pay for it at the restaurant as well.
I know that's right. First of all, that food is slamming. Okay, slamming. So y'all definitely need to go holler at Atlanta Breakfast Club, because I need to slide back in there. But every time I try to pull up on the spot, it's so packed. I'm like, Jesus.
Yo.
But that's Black excellence, baby. I love it. So thank you so much for being a part of this. You are definitely shedding the light. Keep shedding the light on mental health, and let the men know that they have the power to use their voice, because that is important. But ladies, thank you so much for listening to this episode here. I know it's a journey. It's a journey worth taking, though. You got to be willing to put in the work. You got to be willing to listen. You got to be willing to restore, reset, and reclaim your life. But in the meantime, in between time, I'm going to catch y'all next time. It's your girl.
You know it's time.
Recrown